What's going on YouTube? Team Moves here. Now, here is my Throwback segment where I talk about the films that turned 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary this week. We got the David Fincher directed adaptation of Gone Girl. Now, this of course stars Ben Affleck as Nick Dunn, who's a prime suspect in his sudden disappearance of his wife, Amy Dunn, played by Rosamund Pike. And crazy twist towards the ending there. Um, Gone Girl, man. I remember watching this one in theaters back in 2014. I never really read the book, obviously, so I didn't really know what to expect out of this. But yeah, it is a really insane joyride. Lots of crazy twists and turns around. You also had people like Tyler Perry, Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris was awesome in this, and Tyler Perry really was pretty good in this too. So yeah, of course, Rosamund Pike got an Oscar nomination for her performance here. I mean, guys, if you guys have not watched Gone Girl, do yourself a favor, go watch it. It is a really crazy joyride. All right, also turning 10 is Annabelle. Now, of course, this was the prequel to 2013's The Conjuring, featuring, which of course is about the Annabelle doll. Now, Annabelle creation is maybe the better out of the Annabelle films, and not many people really enjoyed the first Annabelle. I actually didn't mind it. I mean, was it a great film? No. Was it as good as, let's say, The Conjuring or even Annabelle Creation? Definitely no. But I actually had some interest. I actually thought it was a really decent little film. Some crazy, creep stuff behind it. Uh, but of course, Annabelle Creation, is the better one that came out. All right. Also turning 10 is, Jason Reitman has the new film Saturday Night out now. Well, 10 years ago, he had another film that got released in October, and that was Men, Women, and Children. Now, if you guys don't know much about the story of Men, Women, and Children, it follows the story of a group of high school teenagers and their parents as they attempt to navigate the many ways the internet has changed their relationships, their communications, and their self image and their lives. And you had an interesting cast. Like, you actually had Adam Sandler in this in a very dramatic role. Um, you also had almost said Rosemary Pike. You had Jennifer Garner, Rosemary DeWitt, Ansel Elgort, and this was actually pretty much my first introduction to Timothy Chalamet, which I believe this was actually his first feature, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I know it was the first time I ever saw him in something. He would go on to get more bigger stuff like Interstellar, Call Me by Your Name, and all. Timothy Chalamet in this actually played the bully to Ansel Elgort's character. So, first time I ever saw him in something, he bullied Ansel Elgort. So, there's that. And you also had, like, Keith Endeavor was in this. J.K. Simmons, because it's a Jason Reitman film. Judy Greer. Hank from Breaking Bad. Dean Norris was in this. You had some really decent supporting players. And this movie really showcased how connected and addicted we are with the internet. Like, you have Adam Sandler, who plays like this Piat. You know what I'm talking. You know what type of act I'm talking about. He pretty much has a little bit of an affair with his wife here. You also have Dennis Haysbert, which yeah, if you can watch Dennis Haysbert in this, you're not gonna want to look at the Allstate guy the same way. So there's that. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen Man, Woman, Children, it's actually not a bad film. Like, when it got released, the reviews wasn't so great, but it's actually a really decent flick. I mean, I guess the better one that's about this is probably Disconnect that came out like a year prior. But yeah, Man, Woman, Children is maybe like one of Jason Reitman's lowest grossing films, but it's actually not a bad one. Definitely an important film. If you guys haven't seen it. All right. Also, turning 10 is the terrible Left Behind movie, which is based on the popular book, which also got turned into other films, like one of which was with Kirk Cameron. Most recent, there was another Left Behind that had Dum Dum Kevin Sorbo in it. Now, this one, of course, had Nicolas Cage, Chad Michael Murray, Liam Thompson, and it centers on a worldwide disaster, which is shown from the perspective of one family: a husband, airline pilot Ray Ford Steele, and his wife, Marshall difficulties, and their two children. And this movie was awful. I remember watching this one in theaters back in 2014. To be honest, I don't remember much about, but I remember really not liking it at all. Of course, it was pretty much Christian propaganda stuff like that. It's just it's an awful one. All right, now films turning 20 is I Heart Huckabees. Now, this movie had a really good cast that included the likes of Lily Tomlin, Mark Wahlberg, Jude Law, which 2004 was a killer year for Jude Law, by the way. Jason Schwartzman, Isaac Fisher, Tippi Hedren, Richard Jenkins, Dustin Hoffman. I mean, this was also directed by David O. Russell, who nowadays may be a little problematic. Take his I'm not really going to go into details, but just look at that your own time about David Russell and stuff like that. Take that aside. I still think, other than Amsterdam, honestly, I still think David O. Russell is an excellent filmmaker. You know, with obviously with the movie Joy, Civil Linings Playbook, The Fighter, Dream Kings. He's done some really good stuff, and I Heart Huckabees is another really good one here. You know, if you guys don't know much about the story, it's where like a self-described extensive comedy. It follows a pair of detectives played by Hoffman and Tomlin, who hired to investigate the meaning of life and of their clients, played by Law, Schwartzman, um, Wahlberg, and Watts. And as the different investigations cross paths, their rival and enemies, played by Isabel Huppert, try to drag their clients on their own views here. And it's a very quirky, interesting comedy here. Mark Wahlberg's pretty good. Naomi Watts. I mean, David Russell knows how set a really good ensemble. So yeah, not a bad little film here. Also turning 20 is Ladder 49. Now, this was, of course, a firefighter film that starred John Travolta and, of course, Joaquin Phoenix, who has Joker Foley the Elks out this week. And follows Baltimore firefighter Jack Morrison, who is trapped inside a warehouse fire, and his recollection of the events that got him to that point. And you also had like Morris Chestnut, Billy Burke, Jay Hernandez. Ladder 49 was a really intriguing film. You know, also you know, directed by Jay Russ did a good job with this. Some really decent performances by Travolta, by Phoenix. See, when John Travolta actually tries, he could be pretty good. This is definitely one of his better performances here. Also turning 20, you know, speaking of Tyler Perry, by the way, we got Women Doubt Art Lose, which was not directed by Tyler Perry, but directed by Michael Sos, but was actually produced by Tyler Perry. You also had Kimberly Elise, who would go on to work with Tyler Perry in Diary of a Mad Black Woman a year prior. Loretta Devine was in this. T.D. Jakes. If you guys don't know much about the story in this, it tells the story of a young woman who must come to terms with a long history of abuse, drug addiction, and poverty. It has been reported that the story was loosely based on the screenwriter's past relationship and with a college girlfriend, a gospel state. It was also like based on a stage play as well. And while it's not like a great film, it's a little let's say a little heartbreaking at times. Very intense here. Kimberly Elise, who doesn't do hardly anything anymore nowadays. Like she still does stuff here and there, but you don't really see Kimberly Elise a whole lot. Like back in 2000, she did stuff like Diary of a Mad Black Woman. She was also in the movie Dope. It's a shame she doesn't really have more stuff lately. But I thought she was pretty solid in this. Loretta Devine is always terrific. A really decent film if you guys haven't seen it. Alright, films turning 30, we got Ed Wood. Now, of course, I did do my review for this when I was talking about Tim Burton movies last month. Ed Wood was actually based on pretty much a biography of Ed Wood, who's made pretty much some of the most terrible movies of the golden age, like Plan 9 from Outer Space. This movie, of course, has like Johnny Depp. It actually won Marlon Landau an Oscar for playing Bela Lugosi. It's a really intriguing film. You know, you had Sarah Jessica Parker, Bill Murray. You know, Patricia Arquette was in this. Some really decent supporting players. Johnny Depp was excellent in this one. He really played Edward perfectly. It was, of course, all in black and white. Really decent Tim Burton film. If you guys haven't seen that. All right, also turning 30, we got Jason's Lyrics, which of course stars the likes of Alan Payne, who you might know from that show House of Pain, Jada Pickett before being married to Will Smith and stuff, Bokeem Woodbine, Eddie Griffin, Forrest Whitaker, and it's set in the third ward, Houston, Texas, and the story about two mentally sacred brothers who choose different paths and dealing with their tragic childhood. When the older brother found love, he starts facing tough choices and continued to pretty much feel responsibility for his younger brother. And and Alan Payne, of course, obviously you might know him from House of Pain and all. He was pretty solid in this. Jay Pickett, like their chemistry is pretty decent here. Not a bad little film to check out. All right. Also turning 30, we got The River Wild, not to be confused with the recent remake that had Adam Brody, Lake McMaster, Taryn Killiam. That movie was awful. This one, of course, was the original that starred Meryl Streep, David Strathairn, Kevin Bacon, and it follows a young family whose whitewater rafting holiday turns into a nightmare when they are taken hostage by a pair of armed fugitives. And this movie is a lot of fun. It was directed by Curtis Hanson, who will also do stuff like L.A. Confidential, the Eminem movie 8 Mile. The River Wild is a lot of fun. It's really entertaining. Meryl Streep was great in this. David Strathairn, Kevin Bacon was great. Really entertaining if you guys haven't seen it. All right, also turning 30, we got The Scout, which is a comedy about a New York Yankees baseball scout who finds a great young pitcher. You, of course, got the likes of Albert Brooks, Diane Weiss, Micah Rappaport, J.K. Simmons. A little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine here. It's a really fun, funny film. Albert Brooks, who is always amazing, was pretty good in this. So definitely give that one a go. All right, also turning 30 is the movie The Browning Version, uh, which which was directed by Leaving Las Vegas director Mike Figgis, and also has the likes of Albert Finney, a very young Jim Sturgis, the late Julian Sands, the late Michael Gambon, and it's pretty much like a British film where like Andrew Crocker Harris is a classic teacher at a British prep school while his wife conducts an affair with an American chemistry professor. So no, I don't really remember too much about this, but there's a all right. Now films turning 40 this week. We got the movie Eureka, which of course stars Jane Hackman and Joe Pesci along with Mickey Rourke, where a gold prospector from Alaska discovers that his wealth is not enough to live in happiness or peace, as his luxury home on a private tropical island is being targeted by gangsters. Now, of course, this was one of like Joe Pesci's earliest roles here, and Joe Pesci, Gene Hackman, some really great cast members involved here. Mickey Rourke was great. Rutger Hauer is always terrific. Not a bad film there. All right, also turning dirty is the movie Teachers, directed by the legendary Arthur Hiller, starring Nick Nolte, Joe Beth Williams, Ralph Macchio, Judd Hirsch, and it's pretty much set in a high school at Columbus, Ohio, and the school is facing poor publicly due to a lawsuit by a former student, and the administration is pressuring popular teacher to resign because they view him as a threat. And Nick Nolte is terrific in this. I mean, Arthur Hiller has made some really iconic movies before too. But yeah, Teachers is really wonderful. Nick Nolte was great in this. Very crazy throughout. I mean, if you guys had not seen Teachers, definitely give that one a go. Last but not least, turning 40 is Savage Street, which stars former Scream Queen Linda Blair, of course from The Exorcist fame, and it follows a L.A. high school student who enacts a revenge against a male gang after they brutalize her deaf-mute younger sister and kill her friend there. And Linda Blair, of course, she obviously came on the scene with The Exorcist like years prior. And so she was obviously, at the time was trying to branch out outside of the Exorcist fame, and she actually did a really good job with this one. Not as memorable as the Exorcist or anything like that, but she was pretty solid. You also had Lena Quigley, who was also a like an '80s icon at the time. John Vernon. I mean, it's always interesting to see teen movies from like the '80s and see how different they are from today nowadays. Because obviously there was not no TikTok back in days or anything like that. But yeah, Savage Street is a really cool little film. Anyway, let me let you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is going to be Gone Girl. 20-year one will be I Heart Huckabees. 30-year one will be Ed Wood. And the 4-year one will be Teachers. Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Simon Steiner.